Coming up, Rob Schneider joins Illeana in just a minute.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
And now, it's the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast, starring Illeana Douglas. Eavesdrop with Illeana as she interviews Hollywood's most prominent players about filmmaking, acting, and what really happens on the set of your favorite flicks and TV shows.
Hello, everyone. It's Illeana Douglas. Welcome to the I Blame Dennis Hopper podcast. I am here with my lovely co-host, Tamara Berg.
Hi, everybody.
Looking just swell today.
Thank you.
What did Paulina Portskova, who keeps threatening to be on our show?
Oh my gosh!
What did she say? She
bless her. She just did a shoot for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition.
Yes.
And someone said to her, she's 51, I believe. Is that right? 51, 54,
so.
Something like that.
Yes.
And someone said to her, "You look really good for your age." And she said, "That is not a compliment."
No.
And I would like to concur on that.
Yeah. I always think that sometimes when I'm at Trader Joe's and they're being like super, super nice to me, and then I think it's because they think I'm old.
An old lady.
They're just helping me. Let's help that old actress down the aisle.
Yeah.
Help her find her
help
walnuts.
with your bags.
Okay, so much to talk about this week. I'm freaking out. We've got Rob Schneider on the
I know.
on the show. It's fun.
I know.
Well, the 90s are coming back. It's so funny is I did the CNN doc about the movies.
Yes.
There was a whole subject line about the great movies of the 90s. Isn't that funny?
It's odd.
I'm finally a category. Okay. I had the pleasure. I didn't think I was going to get to talk about this. Can't talk about it too much.
Right.
But please, in July, I had the opportunity to interview Jane Fonda. Oh my God, she's so cool.
I love it when you interview Jane Fonda.
Yes,
because you always come back with good stories.
She's an icon. She is our era's Elizabeth Taylor and more, because she's just done so much in movies and activism, and she's just super cool, and she looks astonishing at 81.
Yes.
So I interviewed Jane Fonda for the Criterion Collection. They are re-releasing Clute.
Oh, right.
The movie looks incredible.
Mm-hmm.
She has all sorts of great insights on the film. And the other thing is, again, if you're not already doing it, I am, who else out there has got Criterion streaming? I don't leave my house anymore. I am obsessed with the Criterion channel, the streaming, because they not only have the great foreign films and Agnes Varda and lots of curated films, but they're going to be doing old movies too. So there's the section that I'm obsessed, as everybody knows through Twitter, is oh my God, the Columbia Noir collection.
Oh my!
Which includes films like The Big Heat and Human Desire. So far, that's my favorite. Pushover, which was Kim Novak's first film.
Wow.
Just some great films. And it's been Experiment in Terror, Blake Edwards, just this whole really, really interesting era of films, late 50s into the early 60s.
I'm looking at the site right now to see what all they've got. Columbia Noir, yeah.
They look beautiful. They sound beautiful. Columbia is a studio we don't kind of know. So, we know so much about MGM or Paramount. And Columbia is a very interesting studio. When you look at it, some of the people they had there, Glenn Ford, Kim Novak, Rita Hayworth, run by Harry Cohn. And because they were not it's like being one of the smaller agencies, they weren't one of the big studios, they had an opportunity to be more experimental, I think. And so these Columbia Noirs, for me, are kind of a revelation. The whole channel is, there's just such a great variety, and I'm just thrilled to be, this is my second time, I think, third time doing something with Criterion. They released Ghost World, a couple other films.
Right.
And Allison Anders and we're going to be campaigning, if anyone wants to help us, to get Criterion to do, now that I know that the 90s is an actual film category.
Yes.
Let's get Grace of My Heart re-released.
Yes.
Through the Criterion Collection.
Oh my gosh.
Now we're going to talk to Rob Schneider, and he's going to, I'm sure, again, he's going to talk about how he spends life, people coming up to him, and it's always wonderful and flattering. And out of all the movies that I have done in my entire career, the one that the most that people want to talk about is Grace of My Heart. Mm-hmm. And I'm still friends with Allison Anders.
Yes, she's been here on the podcast.
She's great, and we talk about our lives and how everything is going and our movie making. And when I hear hubbub outside.
Oh my God!
I hear hubbub. I have a.
What kind of intro? I don't need no
What is happening?
What's happening? What's happening on the show?
Get in here.
Wait, we're being kidnapped. It's happening. It's like King of Comedy.
I will get in
Suddenly.
here. Let me tell you, I'm glad you're in a dangerous neighborhood. So nice
So good to see you.
What a pleasure this is. Let me tell you. What
Sit down and
such an honor. Can I turn this thing around, or is it perfectly where it is?
It was perfect the way it was.
Let me just tell you, I'm glad. I know you guys are saving money having this kind of neighborhood out here. I just want to make sure whatever's stripped out of my vehicle, it's well worth it. I'm such an honor to be here.
There's a very nice, there's a very nice car shop down the.
Yeah, they're about to get some new Maserati parts.
Would you like me to? I can introduce you.
That's right. I don't need it.
Yeah,
I'm not needy anymore.
You aren't.
I'm on the other side of my career at this point. Let's be honest.
No.
God bless you.
No, you missed the beginning part of the intro.
I did? What did I miss?
Because I was saying that I did this CNN documentary, and movies from the 90s are now.
Oh my goodness!
Are now considered a category. Isn't that funny?
God. That's so amazing.
So, like in the 2000s, when people say, "Well, you haven't done a movie since the 90s," and now I'm being asked about all the great films I did in the 90s.
The 90s were fun. First of all, I wish somebody would have pulled us aside and say, "Hey, listen, this is like the gay 20s. You should enjoy this more." It's going to get really bad in about 20 years. You won't be able to go anywhere. You won't be able to get drunk in public anymore. Remember when you used to be able to get drunk? You used to be able to go down in Hollywood. You can get as effed up. Can we swear on this thing?
No.
You used to be as effed up as you can imagine, and just be, and then go home with whatever persuasion you were looking for.
Yes.
And then it wouldn't be like no one had a photograph of it.
Nobody cared.
It wouldn't. Yes, the only person cares the person that you were with at the time, who 20 years later may come out and say something else that happened. But
it couldn't be corroborated.
Yes, it was all. That's what I like. That's why with my comedy shows now, I want it to be your word against mine, mother effer. I want no actual evidence. That's what I want, and my whole life.
What about Location too?
Yes.
Oh, Location was so much fun.
Well, those were the times. The thing about it was like. Somebody should have said also save your money. Somebody should have said that to me. Don't get married 3 times. Somebody should have said that to me. But my last one, I'm very happy now.
3 times?
My last one, but in Hollywood, that's like 1. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, that's like the first one's like.
In the old days, I mean, Mickey Rooney was married like 8 times.
He was. He got. Well, you know what? Those guys didn't date. They married.
Aren't you fascinated though when you look at Mickey? Like I was watching Mickey Rooney. I was saying I'm obsessed with these Columbia noir movies, and Mickey Rooney was an amazing actor. But he was very small, and he was very popular with the ladies.
Well, in 1937, 1937, I was a big, the Dana Carvey has a great routine about him.
Because
he did a TV series with him. In 1937, I was the #1 star in the world. #1, bang, you hear me? 2 years later, I called Jack. 2 years later, I was broke. I called Jack Warner on the phone, and he hung up on me. Bang, you hear me? So, but I saw him walking through a thing. He was like the biggest star in the world when he was 17.
Yes.
So he was still alive in his 90s. I'm sorry,
Yes.
you hear about guys who are like 5'2" would live to be 100. You know what you never hear? The 7'3" basketball player turned 100 today. The heart's got to do a lot more work, I'll be honest, Illeana, at that point. When you're a midget, basically, like I am, heart does less work. Live longer.
Okay, while you sit there, I am going to do, I mean, so many movies. God, I don't know where to begin with you. Of course, Saturday Night Live, but Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, The Hot Chick, Men Behaving Badly. We got to talk about that.
Well, thank you.
Friends with Justine Bateman.
Those were fun times.
Those were fun times.
I don't know if
Rob.
they'd let you do that anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do like. I mean, first of all, how come
gonna
I
get
can't
to
play
all
different
this.
nationalities?
Oh, is
how
that-
come I
oh.
can't play? I'm Filipino. My mom's Filipino. My dad's
Yeah.
like an albino German. Am I only going to play those roles? I mean, can I play like, no, you're not. That's cultural appropriation. I tweeted my paella, a picture of my paella, and 750,000 people in Spain got angry. How dare you appropriate? I said, didn't you appropriate, like, you're Spain? Didn't you appropriate, like, half the world before 1566 in the Spanish Armada? What are we talking about here? Didn't you appropriate South America? But we're in a weird, very reactive place. And here's my theory.
Yes.
If I can
Tell
tell
it.
what my theory
Tell
is.
it.
Comedy
my,
theory.
My
We're
theory
ready.
is people aren't more angry. They're just the few a-holes that are angry just have access to immediate outrage, to express immediate outrage. They have access to express their immediate outrage. And then other people, normal people like us,
Yeah.
will say, should we be angry? Maybe we should be. Maybe we should. What are they angry about? I don't want them to be angry at us because we're not angry. Okay, then screw those people. What was this about again? So that's what it is.
Okay, well, I have a theory. I was listening to NPR this morning, and they were talking about all these, sex shows, and they had a psychiatrist on, and they were saying, the most important thing is, when you're dealing with children, they should never be ashamed or embarrassed or, and I was like, no, if we're not ashamed and embarrassed, like I wouldn't have anything funny. Like my whole childhood was about, embarrassing, being ashamed and embarrassed
Yes.
by things my parents did or things that happened to me,
I
and that
do
was the
feel-
basis
I
of
do-
all the humor.
I'm going to write that down because I think you're right. And I'm going to use it in my stand-up back and not give you credit.
Oh.
Hear me tell you about this. No, what it is,
yeah.
I think everything now, you have to tell your kids, that's amazing. You're incredible. So they grow up with, I am amazing. That's incredible. And they're not. They're not that. I mean, you have to say, like, hey, listen, like, because I grew up with, like, no, put that down. What are you doing? Now it's like, no, that's great. You're incredible. That's so good. Like, my little daughter, because this is the second wave of kids coming now. Look
That
at that.
sounds very show.
Oh, for God's sake.
I know. Excuse me, I gotta take this. It actually is my agent, but it's so funny. That's so few times that's actually true. But anyway, so
funny.
no, but it's like I have to. My 6-year-old, she picks up a guitar and said, you got to take lessons. She goes, no, I already know how to play.
Oh, come on.
And I was like, no, you don't. And I want to say, no, you don't know how to play. You're just making noise. There's not noise. Not. Yeah, but like you got to go. Oh yeah, no, that's really beautiful. That's great. And she's like making noise. And so it's a gentler, kinder thing. And I know that it's better, and I get it, and I'm all for the Me Too movement until it comes near me. But I'm all for it. But I do think that there's a lack of reality. And I think I remember in the late 60s, you remember your parents, they knew that hitting was out back then. But the option was always there.
Oh no, I do this all the time. When we were sitting in the car, my father would hit Joan. He'd go, Joan, hit the kids. I can't reach them. Hit them.
There was an option, but I agree. My parents knew not to hit kids anymore in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s. They knew that was out. Because there was a
That
kid.
belt out.
Well, there was a kid named Manzinas. I think his name was Mazinas. He was a Greek family, Mazinas, and Ted Mazinas. I don't know why the hell I'm saying his name, but I just remember Ted used to hit his kid, and not just a little an arm shot. Like my dad would. My brother and I one time were arguing over a leftover steak. And my dad was on the phone. He had his office at the house, which was a huge mistake. He got rid of that quickly. We were arguing over a piece of steak. My brother was he was born a thief. He basically he would eat an ice cream, and I go, oh, there must be ice cream. So I go in and look for the ice cream in the freezer, and there wouldn't be any ice cream. And I go, oh, he got the last one. Then I'd see him 5 minutes later with another ice cream. I guess, you mother effer, you're hiding food, aren't you? So I'd look and I'd dig underneath the ice trays and everything, and he'd be hiding ice creams underneath there. So one thing, he's grabbed a steak, and I always had it in for him. So he grabbed his leftover steak from the dinner the night before. And he starts digging into it. And I said, give me half of that. He said, no, it's mine. I saw it first. Yeah, but you're always hiding food. So we're literally fighting over a steak. And my dad's on the phone doing some business call, trying to rent a house or whatever he did. And kids, keep it down. Keep it down. Damn it, you keep it. I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna tell you one more time. And he just put the phone. Excuse me for a second. Put the phone down and whacked us each in the arm. And the result from that was okay, you can have it. No, you can have it. It calmed down the situation.
Yeah.
Now that without that hit, I think we're like a society without that calming influence of a good slug.
Okay, I want to go back. We got so much to cover. Did you grow up in San Francisco?
Yeah, San Francisco.
And do you remember the first movie you went to see?
Well, you know, that's interesting. But literally on my birth certificate, which I found recently, it said Mother Oriental, Dad White. So that's out these days, you know.
Wow.
Orientals, like they used to be like the word. If you call somebody an Oriental now, you're gonna get punched in the face.
Yeah.
But if you call somebody, you know, if you called somebody an African American back in the early '60s, you get punched in the face. So it's like it's a different era now. The first movie, my parents didn't have babysitters. They didn't want to spend any money that they didn't want to spend, so they would drag us to see the movie. So I saw like literally the Planet of the Apes when I was 5. It was horrifying. He's like, you know, Charlton Heston. I remember, you know, Charlton Heston from the Ten Commandments, which I was on every Christmas, every Seder.
Yes.
You know, there's Ten Commandments, and then you know he's a Christian, but he's a Jew. He's a Jew. He's a Christian. You know, Ten Commandments. So, Burr. What's the
Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur. Yeah. Judah Ben-Hur. Right.
Yeah.
And then so I'm watching that, and then all of a sudden he's on a horse, and all of a sudden he's, I'm gonna, you know, in 3 months we're gonna be running this planet, and then all of a sudden like, oh my God, there's apes, and it's like, and they shot that in Malibu, by the way, just on a string budget, you know.
Yes.
And then I luckily was able to meet, you know, the great Charlton Heston, who got such a bad rap, you know, because he was for pro-guns, but he was also very progressive. He marched with Martin Luther King in 1961. Yeah. He doesn't get credit for that, though. If you go against the liberals, they're going to get you forever. You know, so anyway, but he was a great guy, and he said, yeah, they made that movie, and the only reason they made that is because I took a chance on it, and I liked the script. He did a lot of interesting indie movies.
Yeah,
he was a big star.
Yeah.
That was a weird little movie.
Yeah.
And then he also made like Soylent Green. He did all this cool stuff. You know?
Soylent Green is incredible.
He fought to get
Orson Welles.
No, he fought to get the the guy what's his name? Edward G. Robinson. See, he fought to get him the role. See, because the director Ceci, he called him Ceci, Cecil B. DeMille. It's Ceci, and I'm trying to go Ceci. Yeah, I know who Ceci is. I had to look it up. Ceci later. And back then there was no internet. Back then you had to have an encyclopedia or an assistant or someone checking it out for you. But I figured out Ceci was Cecil B. DeMille, so I had to talk to Ceci and said, "Ceci, I know who's right for this role. It'll be Edward G. Robinson." And he said, but Edward G. Robinson is that kind of that Rico guy. He said, so the whole movie, he was trying to not do Rico. So if you ever notice, he's talking like this. Because if he starts talking faster, see, he starts talking like Rico, see, 1930s gangster, see,
Well, you obviously, so you saw Planet of the Apes, but I mean...
So and then like the same year, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Also, 1968 was an incredible movie. 67 was kind of like at the beginning of the new wave. Because I guess when the studio system collapsed, they literally is like, we don't know what to do. And anytime something collapses, like what's happening right now, there's a chance for sneaky movies to get into great movies.
Right.
So you had Bonnie and Clyde, the first time ever, a major motion picture where both characters, both leads, get murdered in the end, both get shot to pieces. And that was the ending. I said, that's the ending? That's what we're going to do? But I thought the thing about Hollywood is to give people a happy ending, you know, so it was a very unique time. So that these great, well, I guess the wrong word is auteur, but these filmmakers.
No, they were. Arthur Penn was
They were, but you can't say Arthur Penn, that was his idea. That was Warren Beatty's driven movie. He got Arthur Penn to be part of it. But I'm saying, so you'd have these people, so I think that word is used because it really is a collaborative, it's a driven from somebody's specific vision, be it a producer, be it an actor who can find the work, be it a director who can craft something. But if you're lucky to get a great cinematographer like they had, was it Conrad Hall who did that?
I think so. Yes.
Then
great editor.
And then you had a really great editor, and then you had like people doing their best work at the best time of their lives, and a really interesting director who was able to tell a story. And then and you have actors, they're beautiful actors in their prime. I mean, it's one of the great things about John, the great Maltese Falcon, John Huston. You know, so in his autobiography, Jack Warner said he was doing a movie with Katharine Hepburn, and they said. He took him to see. They saw dailies with Jack Warner, and Jack said, "You see that right there? You see the track of her tears? It's looking like it's coming from her nose. You got to fix that." And he said, "Mr. Warner, it's going to be hard for me to change something that she's just crying. It's hard. I don't know if I can change the track of her tears." He said, "Let me tell you something, young man. We're in the business. We do one thing: shoot beautiful people beautifully. If you can't do that, you can't work in this business." She said, "I'll figure it out, sir. I'll do it."
So you're like I didn't know you were a big movie lover.
I love. Well, what else you got? I mean, what else is there? There's great food. There's great cinema. There's great music. I mean, there's some cool old cars. Once you come back to the thing about like, I guess the old saying is if Shakespeare was alive today, he'd want to make movies because you got music, you got lights, you have camera, you can paint something, you have actors, you can edit it, you can put it together, get rid of the parts you don't like. That's the thing about Hitchcock, as he said in his, I guess it's called The Darker Side of Genius or something. He said like, movies are simply life with the boring parts cut out, removed. You don't want to see people going to the bathroom. That would be a bit boring, wouldn't it? So we take those parts out and keep all the interesting parts. That's the parts that we keep, and that's the movies, and that's life with the boring parts cut out.
Do you have...
Between molesting actresses, that's what he talked about, but it's just a shame.
Yes, I know Hitchcock. There were certain people that, what always makes me laugh is like they were interviewing Shirley MacLaine and she goes, he didn't like me, like as if she's sort of
offended.
I said, it's probably...
I know. And actresses have told me, like Harvey Weinstein, that's all I got to do is watch him masturbate. That was it. I mean, I'll watch that.
Oh, goodness.
No, but actresses have told me that. And that's a horrible thing to say, but they told me that. Is that it? That's all I got to do? That's all I had to do? But but you can't even have these conversations. Like I just did a movie for like one of the biggest entertainment company in the world, and I literally had to watch a...
sexual harassment video.
Yes,
I know. I did. You have to these days.
So I watched that, and then I'm very
I know you can't.
I can't even go down. But I was basically, hate to say this, but I was replacing an actor on a movie.
Yes.
And they called me on a Wednesday to come out there. Wednesday, I swear to God, it's like, can you get on the plane now? And I said it's like my wife's birthday. And I said, I'm taking her to dinner. And I said, I've missed too much. And they said, but we'll fly her and the family too. And I said, let me just talk to her. So the next thing I know, but like, the point of the matter is...
It's kind of fun when you do that, though. I've had... They
feel
like you're a hero.
There's no pressure.
You're a hero.
Yeah, you come in, like, if you just show up and you don't fall over and you're not drunk, then it's like, it's all good, you know what I mean? Hey, he's sober. We love this guy. But anyway, so my point being...
Yes.
Is that... yeah, so I was like really tight and like, just, and then of course I get to set and I see the actors and they're all joking around doing completely obnoxiously incorrect stuff they're saying to each other. It just has to be some kind of group agree to. And like, but what's true though is that there's a power imbalance. The lead of the guy is a different power. And he sometimes, and this is a weird thing. I was talking about this like with Jeffrey Rush, who's a great guy. And I have to be perfectly honest, he's in trouble in Australia right now. And it's like, this is the thing. And it's happened because Australia wants to be part of the politically correct, and I'm all for that too. However, he made the mistake of like treating everybody like an equal, like him, and it's not, because he isn't. He's the guy in power, and so treating everybody in an equal in a way is not good. So it's like that. People have to be educated too. It's like, hey, you're not just like everybody else. I remember it was like in that movie, with The Devil's Candy. It's like Tom Hanks is going to come check out what the It's a great book, by the way. Tom Hanks is going to see what it's like to be a Wall Street guy, and he walks into a place to see what it's like to be a Wall Street guy. He walks into a bunch of traders on the floor, and it's like, then it's Tom Hanks. They're not going to know what it's like. Is everybody saying, hey, they're not going to act normal. This Tom Hanks is here. So there's a kind of lunacy that truthfully has to be corrected and has to be aware of. And the truth of it was, in a way, his mistake was not seeing himself in another position of authority by treating people equally. So it's a weird kind of thing, and that there's no gray area anymore to make mistakes. If you make mistakes, boom, you're out. And sometimes absolutely should be out. And I know there's some creepy people that I've worked for, that you've worked for.
Yes.
And that like deserve to be out. And I was like, this is just a criminal in a position of authority, using that authority. And the only thing I could say is like, when I think about my overall vision of like what show business is, if I have to say what it really is, seems to me, if I could say one of the interpretations, which is going to be my book, by the way, is that show business seems to be God's great distraction for people who would do a lot more harm, a lot worse harm, if they were doing something else instead of this meaningless, insignificant thing called show business.
Well, now I don't have to read the book. Well, and you certainly worked. We're going to get to that. My God, and I can't even. And SNL too. That was sort of the whole bread and butter of being on SNL in the early days. Was everybody was wild and crazy.
Well, to me, it was like all I remember was like it was like I was there for like the 15th season. It seemed like it was forever back then. Because when you're 23 or 24, whatever it was. And, the show's been on 15 years. That seems forever. That's like more than half my life. You realize how new that was at the time. So, like, basically, you could still see stuff from Belushi and Bill Murray that were still in the office, the whatever remnants of whatever God knows what they were ingesting at that time. But it was a different time because we knew that you could be famous off the show. And I don't know if the original guys knew that was going to break, except for Chevy. He broke about, 6 months in, And so we saw, like, if, you're making $750 a week or whatever, but if you got a movie or something, if you get a hit thing, it exploded. You can have I remember I was, like, subletting a place and taking care of somebody's cat when I was first hired as a writer on Saturday Night Live. And the next thing you know, I was, I had, like, a backyard. And that's when you made it in Manhattan. When you have, like, a tree and a place for your dog to take a dump outside on your own property in your apartment, they go, wow, I've made it, So it was fun, and you're a kid, you don't even know if you're in show business. And then all of a sudden, you're in Saturday Night Live, maybe I'm in. Then you leave. Maybe I'm out again. I don't know,
Well, that was pretty. When I first met you many, many years ago, I think you were a writer. I don't think you were on the show.
I was a little bit on the show at that time, yeah.
Just like a little
Just
bit.
like a few weeks beforehand. And I saw you, and I saw you in Cape Fear, and I thought you were charming and hilarious, which is like, it's fun to see, like, someone has, like, that has... It's not culturally benefiting for women to be hilarious. You know what I'm saying? It was always another kind of. It wasn't like there's a Lucille Ball, but like there wasn't a real avenue. So whenever you see like an actress is naturally funny and bringing that to a role that's not on the page, like I guarantee you,
yes,
it was not on the page in Cape Fear for you to be funny.
There was nothing on the page. Made a career. We're very similar in that way.
Yeah.
I read when I was reading notes about you. A lot of the times you were told by a director, "Oh, you're going to don't worry about it." Me too.
Yeah, you'll make it funny.
I go, I've gone through the script and I don't have any lines. And they go, no, I know. Will you come up with something?
Adam Sandler.
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. And they just and that's how they got Jackie Gleason. They said, like, you'll make it good, Jackie. It's a game show. You get out there. Well, what is it about? Yeah, I'll figure it out, Jackie. You're a genius. You'll make it work. And then, like, that's the way to get to us. We have low self-esteem, gigantic egos. How do I fit in the middle there? You'll be great. Maybe I will. And so that's how they got, like, Peter Sellers, maybe the funniest guy ever. And all of a sudden he's doing a movie called The Bobo. And it's like, what? Well, you're going to be a... what am I going to be? You're going to be a blue bullfighter. All right. But it doesn't sound funny. You'll make it funny, Peter. Peter, you're a genius. Peter, you absolutely. Now, if anyone can make this real work, it's you, Peter. You're sensational. Everything you do is funny. He's right. Everything
and then
I
you
do
have
is
to
funny.
top yourself.
Yeah, and then you got to, like, or you're just going to repeat the same crap over and over again. I remember they said, do you want to do a copy machine? It was a character I did back in the copy machine movie. I went, no, I can't even come up with, like, a 4-minute ending. How am I going to do a movie? An hour-and-a-half movie? I don't want to, because there's I was very cognizant of the fact early in my career going, like, hey, there's that guy.
Right.
There's that guy is really close to, there's that guy. There's that guy again. Why got to deal with that guy? Oh, my God, there's that guy again. And I feel like if you stick around long enough in show business, you go, there's that guy. So I feel like, I remember M. Emmett Walsh talking to me about, it's great because if we work with older actors who've been around, they give you like
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
You get great stories. Mm-hmm. That's I mean, the title of my book, you only get to keep stories. Just a little... No one knows that now, but now it's out in the world. I own that. So he was telling me, like, you know what the best thing to do? He said, for an actor, basically, you just, you get like you have your original portrait, which is you, and you get like 100 serigraphs. And I go, where's this conversation going? He said, no. Every time you appear in something, it's another serigraph. So every time you appear on something, every time you whatever, if you're like, and I said, you got to be careful because when you're done, and then you should. The idea is to retire with 10 of the serigraphs in the original painting, And I went, okay. So like when Tom Cruise jumped up and down the couch, that was like 20 frickin' serigraphs he burned right there. People get sick of you. It's whatever. There's no mystery anymore, which is true with the social media. You have to do it. It's like So there's something interesting, and it's like I loved working with these. I got to work with him, Henry Gibson, David Carradine, and like him and David Carradine being around, just listening to those stories. It was like that was better than the movie to me. And I remember M.M. Walsh told me one of my favorite stories. He just got done. M.M. Walsh, which is like in the first Coen Brothers movie, Blood Simple. He was amazing and just an incredible actor, you know. And he came into me for a movie, Big Stan, and he came dressed as the character. And I said, God, you can have the role. I didn't know he came in character, dressed like a, And so, he was telling me stories that I worked with David Carradine back in the late '60s. Back in the late '60s, there was a restaurant called the 21 Club, and if you're an actor of any significance, that's where you would go, and that's where the actors that was there, the 21 Club. So I just got back from Rome, and I sauntered into the 21 Club, and who was to be at the head table? It was the great John Carradine, and so I sauntered up to him and I said, Mr. Carradine, it's an honor to meet you. I just wanted to let you know I just worked with your son David in Italy. He said, have a seat, young man. Tell me about the picture. And so I was telling him about the picture, and then I felt it was only, he's very generous, and I felt like I should only ask him something. So tell me, Mr. Carradine, what are you working on? I'm playing Oliver on Broadway. And I said, which role? Fagin, you asshole! It's the only role that really, for an older person. You know? But it's like, oh my God, what a great story.
I want to talk briefly about, I can imagine that being on SNL at the height of your popularity, did you ever have to pay for like a cup of coffee anywhere? What was it?
I just remember, like, the weirdest part was to like go someplace.
The next day.
At the height of it, yeah, the next day to go someplace and buy some milk at the time when I was still drinking dairy before I realized I was lactose intolerant all my life. So I went to a place right on the same street, believe it or not, and I was getting some milk. And in another aisle, opposite of me, I heard someone doing the character that I did last week, not knowing that I was there. And I went, wow, it's out there. And then I went to a bar that same week, and I heard it was pinball. I like to play pinball just to blow off some steam. And somebody was playing pinball, and I walked in, and they were doing the character while they were playing pinball. And I went like, wow, this has really hit a critical mass. I had 11 radio stations that want to interview me the next day after I did that character. So like the reach of the show was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's just like, people want something fun and light, and then they just, that they can repeat. And it's just, you never know what's going to hit. And if you try to manipulate it, I just remember, I was laughing so hard when we were writing it. I was just crying, laughing. And like I just said, if they can just, if you love something enough that it just makes you laugh, that's the only chance to really have that connection to really, to express that and get that through. And it's just one of those things that hit. Not everything hits. That one hit.
Yeah, that is certainly. And that began your friendship with Adam Sandler from that?
Adam Sandler and I, there's a weird thing. So
you guys were together. When I met you,
young
you guys
comedians.
You were together.
We were friends before.
Frickin' frack.
Yeah, we were together before SNL. And it's not sexual, but not yet, but we're still keeping that open. But it was like before SNL, he was in New York, and there was this thing called Comedy USA, which is like a cover. And on the cover, that was Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. And I'd heard about those guys because you hear about that. And they heard about me. I got on David Letterman before either of those guys. And that was the thing. At the time, that was a showcase. If you got on David Letterman, literally the next day, I moved to Hollywood with all the stuff in the car. I crashed the car, by the way. I somehow survived. I crashed with everything in it, in a real muddy area, and I didn't have any seatbelts in an old Corvair. But I survived that. I said, well, we'll see what happens. And then I got on SNL after doing the Young Comedian special, and then Adam and I lived literally right across the street from each other in North Hollywood, not too far from here, by the way. You could hear the occasional band, rock band, and the occasional gunfire, and and we lived there. And one time he was roommates with Judd Apatow. And I remember one time I was living with someone who kicked me out of the house. I slept on the couch, and they said he didn't give me a sheet or a pillow. So you could stay here, stay right there on the couch. No blanket, no. He had one blanket and one sheet, and he was using both of them, and one pillow. And but I slept on the couch with my own clothes, and I stayed there for like a night or two. So we knew each other. And when he first came out to L.A., the very first set he ever did, which was in the Improv Hilton, which was in like the Valley, which is like the dumpy place. That's the. It was like the expansion of the Roman Empire. Its fringes. It was someplace out in like Scotland. Well, there was a comedy empire that was spreading out, and at the fringe, basically our Ireland or Scotland, the edge of the comedy empire, was like the Hilton out in North Hollywood. So he was performing, doing a set out there, and It's like the junior, like the AAA for comedy. And then I went out there and just happened to see his first set out there. And the only two people really laughing really hard, at him was me and him laughing at himself. And after we had, after he came off stage, I said, "Come on, let's go get it. Let me buy you a beer." And I said, "You're going to be huge, and I'm never wrong." And the only reason I said that is because somebody just said that to me the day before. Michael Keaton's manager had me out to lunch. "You're going to be huge, and I'm never wrong." I said, "That's a good thing to say to people." And we just became instant friends. We would perform together, and then David Spade was in the, my acting class, and it was just a group. And the next thing you know,
Wait, David Spade took acting class?
He did, yeah.
Okay.
He didn't take it seriously. I think he made it more to meet girls.
Yeah, I think so.
I
think so.
But he's good.
What kind of an acting class was this?
It was Roy London's acting class.
Oh, Roy London.
Very
That's
famous.
Very famous.
Yeah,
Gary Shandling was a big...
Gary Shandling's the reason why both of us ended up being there. I think, but he recommended it. And it was, who else? Jim Carrey was taking classes. Elizabeth Shue, Sharon Stone, a couple of years before us. Jeff Goldblum, even before that. And so he had a good... he was another guy that said, "You're going to be huge, and I'm never wrong." I said, "I'm going to take this guy's class," because he saw me on Letterman. Because everybody watched TV back then. It was like, it was a thing. You didn't have as many. You didn't have streaming services.
Did you ever? I mean, you went completely in the comedy direction, but I mean, I could also see you being in like a Coen Brothers movie.
I would have loved it. You know what happens is, like, I remember Peter Riegert, the great actor from Animal House and from Local Hero, and I think he was played the like the Mr. Pickle, the Pickle Man, and another movie.
Crossing Delancey.
Crossing Delancey. He's a terrific actor, a lovely guy. He did a movie with me, The Chosen One.
Animal House.
And Animal House, yeah. So he was Boone in Animal House. He's a great actor. He said he was working in France. And they said an actress, I forget her name, said, "Peter, if you did a movie like Local Hero, they would never stop working, because people in France, it's not like Hollywood. They want to see you do different things, like Gérard Depardieu. They want to see Gérard in a Napoleon era movie. Like to see him, in a comedy. Like to see him in a contemporary drama with Henri Clouseau. So there's many things you can do. I didn't understand what he was saying, but I basically got that. But that's true. In America, it's like, you made money doing that, well then do that again. How dare you want to do something different? So, I mean, look, I honestly, like, Steve Buscemi has had a more interesting film career than me. He was a stand-up. He got out early. And in a way, the biggest blessing and the biggest curse for me was getting on Saturday Night Live.
Well, that's not
No, it's a blessing and a curse.
Quite a history.
I think I would have made it even without it, but the thing is, it just was it was my kind of thing, and I love comedy, and there's some comedies I want to do, but it's like, you do get typecast, and it's tough, if you're like, because it's such, what it is, it's a miracle to make a movie. The great David Carradine, one of the nicest things any actor's ever done for me. He called me up, I wasn't going to make that movie. Big Stan is just like this. It's a nice little movie that got lost in the shuffle of the overcrowded indie film scene of the early 2000s. There was just too many indie movies. But I said David Carradine was going to play the master to teach me how to not get raped in prison. Believe it or not, that was the movie. It would never get made. It was originally called Unrapeable, and they ended up calling it Big. They said, "We don't think we can call it that and get it released." They said, well, so Big Stan was the title. It's about a little guy who's an asshole, excuse me again, but who's going to go to prison, is afraid to what could happen to him in there, so he hires this guy to teach him how to be a killer so he doesn't get, So that's the movie, and that was the movie I wanted to make. That's the movie I chose to make. And but I said, I can't do it without David Carradine. He's got to be playing basically like, the Freshman with Marlon Brando made fun of himself. So I got to get him to do the same thing with Kung Fu. So I called the lovely Quentin Tarantino, and I said, "Is David, how was he on Kill Bill?" And he said, "Oh, he's great. Shoot him early." I went like, "What?" "No, he's great. Shoot him early." And I said, "Okay." He didn't have to say anything more than that, but just like, and I went out to lunch with David, and his manager said he loved the script, and he said he wants to meet with you and have lunch with you. Went out to lunch, and I was just seeing the alcoholic beverages kind of going. And then, I wanted to do this movie, and I wasn't going to do it without him. And I was like, so finally I said, after like several drinks and a couple of, the good dinner and entrees and, appetizers and everything, I said, "So, Mr. Carradine, what did you think of the script?" And he looked at me and went, "I haven't read it." And I looked at his manager's manager, just basically like his eyes like crawled under the table. And then David, to break the tension, said, "Tell me about it." So I told him about the movie, and right in front of his manager, he was laughing. He said, "I'll do it." So it was the greatest thing. And then and he was wonderful. And he was great. But we had to shoot him early because he said to me, you know, Rob, I used to be an Alcoholics Anonymous, and then I realized something. I said, what's that, Mr. Carradine? I like to drink. So, so we only basically shot that night, one night, and that was a very difficult shoot. Wow. I remember being like, you know, shooting downtown. I mean, it's this low budget movie. You were making a movie for $6 million back then. You can do it for $2 million now, but like back then, $6 million was like, it's all going to the union. You know, the union can triple time. You know, God bless them. I love the unions, but it's tough. You know, they don't give you a lot of breaks. So, we were shooting in Chinatown, and we got this one night to shoot, and this is it. One night, Chinatown, one night, that's all you get. And so I would tell our crew, I said, listen, I'm going to ask crew before Mr. Carradine got there. Mr. Carradine's going to arrive in 45 minutes. We're shooting in a bar. I'm going to ask everybody, please, don't, even if he wants, whatever he says, let's please not serve Mr. Carradine any beverages this evening. I ask everybody's cooperation in that. Anyway, I go to the cinematographer, and I work with them. You know, we start going over the shots and everything we're going to do for the night and everything. I come back 45 minutes later. He's behind the bar. David Carradine's behind the bar, a half bottle of vodka in. And like a half bottle, I'm like, what would you like to drink, young man? I'm like, ah. And it was a tough night. But he got through it, and he was still great, you know. But like, I think when he realized that I was never going to yell at him or get upset or anything, he took a little bit, you know, advantage. But like, he was still great, you know. And I loved him, and I was happy to get whatever he can get. But like, you know. Get him early. Shoot him early.
I feel like, again, both of us went through an era where you kind of just look the other way with people.
Yeah, you got what you can get. And at the same time, you know, you're grateful for that. I mean, at the same time, yeah, you had to look the other way. But, like, look, you know, I look at, like, these guys who are legends and you know, I think you do. You have to hold them to a different, you know, I mean, to a different standard. I remember there's the sweetest thing ever. I mean, I literally wept when he died, when I heard he passed away. And he said to me, the nicest thing, because I'm planning my shoot, the first movie I'm ever directing. And he calls me up, and I'm going over the shots for everything. We're shooting in a real prison, you know, with real prisoners in there. It was a very difficult kind of idea, but like, whatever. Let's just shoot it, and let's make it work. And then I'm planning out with, I'm kind of blanking on the cinematographer now, lovely guy. Anyway, so... we're planning our shots, going over, and I get a phone call. I go, David Carradine. I see it's David Carradine on the phone. And I said, well, I better take it. Has he got a problem? Is he not going to show up? My actor, my lead actor. I got to. So I answered, hello, David. Everything okay? Is everything all right? And he said, Robbie, I just want to tell you something. I said, what's that, Mr. Carradine? He said, well, you know, it's 3 miracles for it to make any movie. So, yeah? He said, first miracle is to get it made. I go, yeah? Second miracle is if it's any good. And, yeah. Third miracle is if anybody ever sees it. So here's to the first of 3 miracles.
Aw.
And it was such a beautiful thing. It was such a, that's all he wanted to say. He didn't want anything. He wasn't worried about his trailer.
Yeah.
His lunch. He didn't worry about, like, the money or whatever. He just wanted to make a movie, have fun.
Well, somebody like that, I guess they've seen, you know, the kind of... I don't know, the ups and downs.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to ask you just my last question about SNL. You know, now you can watch all your routines on YouTube, and you can kind of rediscover. I mean, people...
They make the show now, you know, so that more people watch it not live, but the next day. They try to get as many not downloads, but as many views on YouTube later. That's a different thing, you know. It's almost like the version of wait till it comes out on video, like it used to be in the 90s for us.
Yeah, it would you know, you had to watch it live though. But that was
no, but I'm saying like what our movies used to be.
Right.
Well, we'll get the one wave in the theater, and the next wave will be what it does on video. That's what I mean. So it's like now it's the wave is the YouTube the next day.
Yeah.
Isn't it? I mean, it's got to be parallel.
It's kind of
That's all I got, by the way.
Well, no. I just was sort of noticing that, and there is not so much an ability for people to pop. It feels like really.
It's tougher to break through.
To break through and become a star. When I think of your era of
it is tougher.
Doing a routine and
yeah, you could pop earlier. It's still doable. You know, it's a weird thing. Is
just doing one thing. I feel like, you know, Chris Farley doing his hair, like then he's a star. You know what I mean? Like one routine. And that puts
but that was
you
a hell of
a
a routine Chris Farley did. When he did I saw a star born in front of my eyes because he didn't pop right away. I did before him. Before Adam, before David, I popped. And it was a weirdness going on there for a while. But when Chris Farley did that dance, written by the real genius of Saturday Night Live is Jim Downey. And nothing to take away from Lorne Michaels. He protected the show and kept the genius was keeping the network notes away and everything, and protecting, give us our little thing, and then continuing to find new people, luckily like me and Adam Sandler, to keep the shows going and still doing it. But the comedy writing genius is Jim Downey, and he saw in Chris Farley a way to show his physicality, because he was really like he was like a ballet dancer in a 400-pound body or 325-pound body, and there was a ballet dancer somewhere in there. And so he did that Chippendale sketch, which is like one of the most famous sketches there. And I sat there on the side watching that, laughing and going, it's impossible not to laugh at this thing. It's just like, if you look at it, if you think of, I just watched recently some, Chaplin. I mean, it's Chaplin on a ladder figuring out how to fall down, and there's a guy carrying it, another guy. It has that kind of physicality to it. It's just, you cannot, if you don't laugh at that, you have no sense of humor.
What I mean, it sounds, obviously when you think of Pagliacci and people like that are so funny and yet so self-destructive. I mean, do you?
I think there's something to that. I think it comes at a price. I mean, I will say, another thing in the book, it has some psychic damage. I mean, you have to be effed up to be in this business. I mean, I literally I was nice enough to talk to this wonderful guy, John Cleese, because I'm doing this TV show Real Rob on Netflix, and to me, like the Mona Lisa of sitcoms is Faulty Towers. Mm-hmm. It's just beautiful, And the producer at the time who produced that show, the British man who's passed away. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on names. That's what happens with medical marijuana. He said it's the best sitcoms, or the best situation comedy. The best situation comedy is simply horrible people acting horribly. And it's true. He's a selfish, childlike guy, lying and scheming and being too cheap and putting in the door the wrong way, and and then screwing it up and then having to hide behind it, lie, cheat, and steal. And that's just John Cleese, and the physicality of it, having like a physical meltdown every show. Yeah, was like, it's just beautiful, and just like being abusive to his staff, literally hitting man well in the head with a frying pan. It's it's beautiful to me. It's screamingly funny and politically incorrect. And I remember I went to go talk to him and Eric Idle after they were performing. I flew. I said, I asked my wife, because I want to keep this marriage going. I have to make this marriage work because I really like my house. Beautiful. You'd love it. You'd love it. It's like, my wife's great, but my house, amazing. Anyway, so I asked my wife, I want to go see Eric Idle. She's and John Cleese. They're performing, and I said, I want to leave tomorrow. She said, she's always so go. These are my heroes. She knows they're my heroes. So I flew out there, and John Cleese said, what are you doing out here? And I said, I came to see you. What are you talking about? You guys, you're my heroes. And I said, well, why don't you come out and have a drink with us? And so we went out, and he couldn't have been more lovely. And Eric Idle, even more lovely than him. It's just these two like my heroes, and we're having some champagne together, and I was talking about, he was talking about, John Cleese was talking about his mother. He said, you should read my book, your mother, because his mother would write a list of worries. So this is my list of worries. And she'd write down, because she survived, she was through the war. Says, this is my list of worries. And so he would sit there when he was at university, and she'd write and said, these are the things I'm worried about. And she'd write them down. That was his mother. And my mother was the same way. See what happens? There's a little Filipino lady. Yeah. See what happens? You fell down. See what happens? My whole life. See what happens? You're crying. See what happens? See what happens? You broke that. No roughhousing in the house. I remember one time we played basketball about 3 miles away from the house. Somebody twisted an ankle. All of a sudden you heard, see what happens? So anyway, and I was talking to Eric Idle. I said, Dad, now we're all left up. All of us. We wouldn't do this if we weren't messed up. Simply is wrong with all of us. It's got to be screwless. There's got to be some psychic damage. So you think, like with me, my father survived World War II, was coming home, on the way home, survived World War II, the Germans, the Jerrys, coming back, got hit by a tram, was killed before he made it back to the house. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah, it broke my heart right there. And, we're all messed up. So I think, there is some, you have to risk yourself to be, and put yourself out there and risk humiliation. To be able to risk humiliation, you have to be, and it comes at a psychic price. The average person doesn't walk down the street and say, how can I potentially humiliate myself if this doesn't work? You know what I mean? Are
you a vessel? I mean, I find this even in acting, in the sense, and it's sort of like Peter Sellers, too, where when you finish, I'm working on a show, and I was talking with an actor, and I said, do you enjoy the work or watching the work? And he goes, oh, I never watch the work. And I said, yeah, me too. Between action and cut is the only time it's really fun. And driving home when you're alone, so I think with comedy,
well, comedy, if I can separate myself from it, and I can now. I didn't used to be able to. I used to just judge.
I don't think people realize the adrenaline. It's not just coming up with
exhausted.
the routines.
No. It's physically exhausting. If it's not, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You have to give everything on the floor. I remember, there's very much not that I'm comparing myself to any great athlete or anything, but I remember talking to Larry Bird. I'm not watching this show. Someone talking to Larry Bird, and it was Dr. J was saying, Larry, if you want to play a couple more years in this league, you're going to have to stop cleaning the court with your body. Because he's literally leaping out of bounds, trying to get the ball falling on his back. He literally couldn't even sit down on the plane. That's why he stopped playing. He could still play, but he could have played, but he'd hurt himself so much. And he just, what the Dr. J said, I don't know any other way to play. This is the only way I know how to play. And you have to commit to it. And it comes, the thing is, can you successfully turn it off when you're not? And truthfully, it's hard to turn off some of it because it's so fun. Some of it's screamingly fun. And sometimes I don't like to watch it after, but there's sometimes I can watch the playback sometimes if I'm not trying to copy what I did, but just to make sure I'm physically in the right place. And the best directors don't tell you how to do a scene. They say, keep your life between this pole and this couch, and I got you. And I go, okay, this guy trusts me.
Right.
He knows that I know what I'm doing. Okay, good. He's not telling you that he trusts you, but he is.
Yes.
And then but then you kind of keep it in there, and he knows what I'm doing, and I'm going to bring it.
Mm-hmm. And you worked with the director Dennis Dugan a lot. Does he?
Dennis is very positive.
Jerry Lewis had his favorite, Norman Turog, or do you have, directors that really know you?
I got to work with John Landis, and John Landis was
John Landis, that's one of them. I wanted to ask you about that, Susan's Plan.
Well, that was a movie that, he's a great director.
Fell through the cracks.
But he's not a writer. And he wrote this, and he killed all the people that everybody in the movie that they liked. And that was just a movie that he wrote, and it was such a joy to work with him because he literally... If he likes something, he loves it. He doesn't like it, he loves it. And if he does love it, he'll run on and say, I love it! I mean, it's infectious. I wanted to start doing that. I don't know why I haven't. And he would literally come on, just grab you and kiss you. I love it! And he just saw something in me that he just liked. And it's the height thing and the certain kind of quirkiness. And he told me some great stories. And that's all you get to keep. You only get to keep stories. And he told me, because I was doing this onesie, and he came up to me and said, cut! Everybody, take 5. And I go, Jesus, what did I do? He says, hey, listen, Rob, you were great in rehearsal. What happened?
Oh, no.
And I said, I don't know what I did. What's the difference? He said, well, let me just tell you something. He said, you're doing too much. Take it, it's just enough. So let me just tell you, back in the day, Billy Wilder was, if you go on Sundays or Mondays at Musso Frank's, you can get the great Billy Wilder is at the bar eating dinner by himself. And if you're smart, like Quentin Tarantino was, or if I would see him, he would go and talk to Billy Wilder, and he would tell you a story or whatever, if he felt in such the mood between bites. Well, when I came from Hungary, the thing was, I came from Mexico and came up here. I worked with, with these actors, and he'd tell you stories, whatever. And so John Landis, also very smart, like Peter Bogdanovich, the great director. He knew, let's talk to these guys, and he interviewed everybody when he became a young, famous director. He did that great book called Who the Hell's in It, which is still to this day one of the great books about Hollywood, because who the hell's in it? You got to make a movie, you got to have a star. Who the hell's in it? And he went and interviewed everybody that he could. And so one of the guys he interviewed, and he did extensive interviews with, was of course Orson Welles. And Orson Welles is also, John Landis became friends with Orson Welles. So there's the stories there. But the story about to this point where I was being too big in everything, when I was being too big in this scene, he said, let me tell you a story about Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder came up to Jack Lemmon. I think it was in the apartment or one. He said, Jack, could you do me a favor, please? Jack, can we take the take again? Can you do 50% less, Jack? 50% less. And he said, all right. So he does 50% less. He does another take, 50% less. And after take, all right, Jack, can we do the take again? Jack, can we do it 50% less? 50% less. He said, 50% less than what? Than that? Yes, Jack, yes. All right. He's starting to get irritated, And so he does another take and said, Jack, can I do what? 50% less. Than that? 50% less? Yes, Jack, 50% less. So he's starting to get irritated. So he does the take again. He says, Jack, can you do 50%? If I do another 50% less, I won't be doing anything. So try that.
Are you sensitive to criticism from
Yes.
I mean,
who isn't?
But that seems...
Who isn't sensitive to? You have to turn it off. I mean, like, I would tell you, like, the great John Cleese also told me that's, he told me once, he said, critics, don't even ignore them. Which was a quote from somebody I forget because I don't.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, you have to, like, you have to understand their point of view. I remember, like, talking to, the name dropping, but I've been around a long time. I was talking to James Cameron about, like, when, after Titanic came out, it was a gigantic hit, and I met him a couple years later through a mutual friend, and we were at a dinner. And I said, I just want to tell you, no movie ever got shit on more than Titanic before it ever came out. It's like, that's, like, unbelievable that you weathered that, because people were rooting for that movie to bomb before it ever came out, and like the pre-show disaster. It's like it was totally unfair thing, and of course he can relate to that because he lived through it. He had to give back his salary or his points or whatever to keep going. And he said, yes, but interesting, I learned something. He said, the thing about that movie was like cynicism can only go so far, and at its apex is love again. So that's just really what that thing was. And he told me stories about, DiCaprio talking him into doing that role. Because DiCaprio didn't get where he said, well, this guy could have his problems and be like a drug addict. And he said, no, Leo, you're Gary Cooper. You're the opposite of that. You're like the best guy and, the best purest guy.
Yeah.
And because that's the opposite of where DiCaprio really kind of likes to play. Yeah. He found it challenging. That's why he wanted to do it. But anyway, my point was bringing about criticism was he remembered like Kenneth Turan, destroying this movie before it ever came out, and then hated it when it came out, whatever. And he said I was really angry. He said I was angry about that. And then I saw like some PBS thing or whatever where he showed him, and he said, oh, he saw him, and they were like, oh, I get it. It's a guy that like, not the schlubby-ish, I should say schlubby. And we're like, oh, basically, I'd hate me too if I was that guy. Like I get it. It's like that's not like a guy who's gonna root for you. Mm-hmm. And there's some actors who are like, that are more, I should say, they're kind of weirder looking, and that they get amazing reviews. And I have to admit, a director told me, he said, well, that's why I said they kissed this guy's ass. Why? Because that's them. To them, that's the guy they can relate to. Schlubby, unshaven, doesn't take care of himself. That's who they're rooting for. And then we're like, wow. It's just great to get that kind of perspective, so that because you could take it seriously. You think like when you make something, you have to think it's great. Otherwise, you can't go, this will be okay. You have to think, oh, this is going to be amazing, and then if it isn't, doesn't quite hold up to whatever. But comedies do not get reviewed well. They just don't. You got to know that going in is that there is a combination of things going against you. One is it's an aggressive thing. I'm going to make you laugh. This is like, no, you're not. What do you mean? And then, whereas opposed to a drama could be open to interpretation. But a comedy either makes you laugh or doesn't make you laugh. And it goes exactly to people's egos. Mm-hmm. And the ego being like, if you ask somebody, are you a good chef? You cook well? And people be honest about that. No, I'm not really. I wouldn't find myself much of a great chef, It doesn't get to the core of who they feel like they are. But if you ask somebody, do you have a good sense of humor? Mm-hmm. So of course I do. Of course, that's a sign of great intelligence. Of course, I'm very intelligent. I have an amazing sense of humor. You should see. And not everybody has a good sense of humor. And so, the difference is, they feel like if they don't find it funny, they have to attack it and destroy it, or in some sense, so because they don't find it to be funny. So it's tougher, and you risk yourself when you like a comedy. You put yourself out there.
You obviously, I don't know which movies to start with. There's so many. Obviously, do you have your favorites that people, because oftentimes people are discovering films here.
Well, they do. Like, for me, it's like Big Stan was the movie that got lost for me, that my career suffered for years after that. But in the same time, it was the greatest gift that ever happened in my life. So, literally was the gigantic disappointment, because I lost money on that. And people invested in the movie, lost money, and it was tough. And I would literally hand deliver it to Russia to get it released in Russia, in South Korea, wherever it could possibly make money. Australia, I took it down there, and in Mexico, and every Spain, because I wanted to get it out there with my world audience, And it just in America, I got it up to be released at this guy. God, I mentally blocked his name out of my head. Bob, he did the movie Crash. He produced it, and they kept him from getting an Oscar. What's his name? Can you look that up, somebody?
I don't.
Bob.
I'll let.
But anyway, so he got the movie knowing he was going to go bankrupt.
Really? And this was out.
And held the movie. And I took everything, I got it out of there. But by that time...
Bob Yari.
Bob Yari. Yeah. This guy, if I ever see him again, that's one guy I will hold a grudge against forever. Because he totally screwed the movie. So if you have a chance to not work with Bob Yari, I wouldn't do it. I would skip him. Skip Bob Yari. But anyway, so his company went belly up. And then, unfortunately, like at that time, the DVD sales was the parachute for the film industry. And I guess streaming is now. So anyway, we didn't get a good release for it, and then, so that was a real heartbreak. But the greatest thing, I mean, from the ashes of failure, the greatest thing that ever happened in my life came from that. I literally was going around selling it, just trying to make sure my partners internationally didn't lose money. They had distributors, and I met my wife on one of those things, and I have like 2 beautiful kids. So in a sense, it was the greatest gift. Is that, so sometimes, there's 2 sides to everything. And, I guess one of the things about being Zen is to, not focus on the side that you think is important. There's something else there. And you never know what's going to happen. So at the same time, while I'm really angry about that still, obviously, I'm also grateful because, like I said, the most beautiful thing happened from that. I love that movie. I think 50 First Dates holds up as a sweet movie. Again,
yeah, very sweet.
But again, though, it's like, I don't know if some of that stuff they allow happen again. I just think it's like, I don't think there's malice intent. In other words, I think the thing about Adam Sandler's comedy, which is always so, is that he doesn't mean to be harmful or whatever, but there are certain people that their funny things happen to. And I think that that's okay. And I think in life, if you take a look at the general cruelty in the universe, in the world, I think there's a great escape valve called Adam Sandler in his movies. And I was really happy that was such a sweet little movie. And I remember being on the set, and that was the first time when I walked on a set. And I worked with like Tim Curry and Home Alone, and that was the only movie I knew for sure was going to be a hit. Home Alone, Lost in New York. I said, well, this is going to be a hit for sure. But I remember walking on the set first day, 50 First Dates, and seeing really handsome Adam Sandler sitting across from a very lovely Drew Barrymore in their prime looking. I said, these are 2 movie stars. I'm in a movie with like movie stars. And I just remember thinking, God, this is special. This is really beautiful. And I remember I'll never forget where I was at that moment. I said, okay, this is great right now. You better remember this. So that's a special movie to me. I mean, to me, Deuce Bigalow was special because, I didn't know how to make a movie, and I think that benefited me because I didn't know any rules.
Well, and for people who don't remember, how did you get the idea to do that movie?
Well, it's like Adam Sandler had become like a movie star. Like he was just a guy who lived across the street from me.
I
slept on his guy, and then all of a sudden he became, and we were on Saturday Night Live together. And all of a sudden I go to Europe to make a couple of movies, and then I come back and he's a movie star, and he says, "Hey, why don't you do this part for me? This movie is." It's The Water Boy. And I said, well, yeah, what is it? He said, hey, you just say you can do it. And that's what does it mean? We'll tell you when you get here. And he said, you just come out, you'll have dinner. We'll do this thing, we'll have a great dinner. So that was his whole thing, was to get me to come out to have dinner. So I came out to have dinner, and he had me do You Can Do It, and I was there for like a day. You can do it! Say it differently. You can do it! You can do it! And cut her head off. We got to win tomorrow. The Water Boy's a cheater. So I just basically was like a lunatic for like a day.
Yeah.
And they cut me in different areas and shot it during the day, shot it at night, whatever, looking up, looking down. And I didn't really know what it was about or anything. But I did get a call 2 weeks before the movie came out and said, Robbie, it's Adam. Hey, next week the Water Boy's going to come out, and you're not going to be able to go anywhere without hearing you can do it. So that was that one. And then like after that, there was like a one line in a movie, Big Daddy, and there's a Chinese delivery guy, and because at the time he didn't have any power in Hollywood. He was starting to become a movie star. He was a movie star, but like The Waterboy hadn't come out yet. But like they were making this other movie. The Waterboy came out, made $39 million in October, which no one had ever done that before. No one had ever done. So it's like, who's this guy? And so I was there that night that opened, and then it kind of changed everything. But before that was Big Daddy, was making it with Sony, and he said, hey, Robbie, why don't you do this one role? And they said, I'll try to get that for you, but I don't, I'll try. And then the studio said no. So they hired Jon Stewart for that role. I said, this is another role you can try and do. And he said, but then he said, you're not really right for that role. And he said, don't worry about it, man. I love you. Don't worry. It's great. And I appreciate it. You don't have to worry about it. He said, but there's this other role, and it's going to turn into something. Just come out and do it. And I look at the script. It's got one line. It's Chinese. We'll change it, So I went out there for one line. And he said, just come tomorrow. I said, yeah, but I did my one line. Nah, but we'll figure out some more stuff. So I would show up. And Dennis Dugan, what a lovely, guy would just go, yeah, let's see what happens. And if it was working, he would say, yes, So Dennis is one of those really positive, great guys. And then Adam we'd literally, the night before, call each other and go, I got this line for tomorrow. And so I'd show up the next day. The next thing you know, the studio's getting, who's this guy showing up every day, And they kept it in and ended up being one of the leads. And there was one line in it. So basically, Josh Mostel comes to the door and he's the social worker and goes, and I went to the door and I answered the door. I said, you answer the door. So what I said, I opened the door and said, I know you. You ordered 3 pieces of cheesecake. And, so they just kept the stuff in. And the next thing I know, I'm in this movie. So after that movie then Adam Sandler became a big star, a big hit. Waterboys went through the roof, 165 million, and the Big Daddy, 165 million. He said, he said, just write a movie, and I'd write one. I said, I don't know what to write about. Just find something, you'll figure it out. So he said, okay, I'm still trying to figure it out. So I went and he said, write it. If it's good enough, I'll try to produce it. And I said, okay. So I said, I didn't know what to write. So I'm literally at my house in San Francisco, my little apartment, right on the hill with the cable car going by, ding, 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 ding. And I'm flipping the channels, by hand too, back then. And then I see this movie and I go, let me just check this out. I think I know what this is. It was Richard Gere. And I said, wait a minute. What is it? Oh, yeah, I know this. It's American Gigolo. And it's a guy, and it's this handsome guy, and these beautiful women are paying him to have sex with them. And I said, this doesn't seem to make sense. Beautiful women don't need to pay anybody to have sex, so they just need to go and leave the window and go, sex! Who wants sex? So I said, well, this is just innately funny. And I said, if I play some guy who's like, some guy, the lowest level I could think of in that 30 seconds, which is about how long I thought of the movie, about 30 seconds. Which, if I play some guy like cleans fish tanks for a living and sneaks into the guy's room and ruins his place and has to go out with these women, his customers, and instead of them being great, like in that movie, who would they really be? Who would really need to hire a gigolo? And it would be like, a woman with one leg and Tourette syndrome and another woman with narcolepsy. And that movie that you couldn't do today, but at that time, they let us make it. It was originally called Deuce Bigalow, Male Prostitute. And I remember Joe Roth, the president of Disney, saying, hey, kid, let me talk to you. It was at one of those functions at Disney. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? I said, yes, Mr. Roth, what can I do for you? Yeah, you got this movie. You only spent $12 million for a movie called Douchebag. Change that name. Yes, Mr. Roth. So I immediately went home.
Wow.
To my Hollywood Hills little house and decided how am I going to keep this house? Well, let me change the name. And I thought of, Ace Ventura and with Deuce, Ace, Deuce.
Yeah.
Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo. Just get rhymed, So anyway, there wasn't, and then the next thing you know, that made like, I don't know, $380 million. Most of it in DVD after people heard about it. And if it's a funny movie, people will see it. And it was small enough where we were able to get to do some interesting stuff. And it was just what it was, So that's a special movie. The first thing that Amy Poehler ever did that anybody ever saw her in.
Yes.
Do I get a Christmas card? Do I get a call for Seder? Never. Never from Amy, but God bless you. She was great in it. Because I thought that the part wasn't funny because they couldn't get any woman to make it funny. And then I was doing Conan O'Brien and I saw this. She played like Conan's stalker, his sister or something with braces, swearing at Conan. And I went like, wait, she's funny. So I said, well, this woman, she's funny. So Amy Poehler, so we got her to play the woman with Tourette syndrome. And
very quickly, we had Diedrich Bader on.
Nice guy.
And he had a Cloris Leachman story. I worked with Cloris Leachman.
I love Cloris.
Do you have any? She's out of her mind in a way that we. Do you have
just
any
remember
Cloris
she was
Leachman
so
stories?
lovely. She would go around the set and tell people that they can't eat meat. It's horrible for you. And tell them what it does to their lower intestinal tract. And she's right. She's like 1,000. She's like in her 80s and she's doing great. Do I have which story? I put her in another movie because we all love her. I was talking to Adam, last night. This is Cloris Leachman. Last night I was talking to Adam Sandler. He's casting in the new movie. And I said, Cloris Leachman. He said, I thought about her. And, because she's just one of those women you just think of. She's hilarious, first of all. If you see High Anxiety, the only reason to really see that whole movie is how funny she is.
Yeah.
If you think about, like, Young Frankenstein, the funniest person in that is Cloris Leachman.
Yeah.
She's hilarious and so funny and so committed. And like, she dissolves in a role. She doesn't become, she dissolves her personality. And she's just, And she's just brilliant. And anyway, so I said, Cloris, when you come out and do this part for me in this movie, I was making a movie, The Animal. She said, yes, I'd love to come out and do that. You take me to dinner. And I said, okay. So we went out and had a great time, and then we did the role. And then the studio, big studio movie at the time, had most money I ever made in my life. And they'd decided we need to cut some time out of this movie. We want to keep it real quick. And so I had to call Cloris. She said, hi, Cloris, how are you? She said, I can hear it in your voice. What? You cut me, didn't you? And I said, not out of the DVD. You're still in the DVD. You have that dream going for you. But there's many. Cloris Leachman has she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's just a work of. She remembers everything. I have such a terrible memory. But her and like David Carradine, which told me such incredibly detailed stories. I wish I had recorded them all. It's when you're telling your stories. Can I just mentally jot this down or physically? Just incredible stories, and that's all you get to keep. It's like, and she's able to do incredible things. So I mean, and it's unfortunately, you age out of this business, and it's like you got to work while you can, and do what you can, and if you're lucky enough. First of all, every movie's a miracle.
Yeah,
every movie's impossible to get made, and it's impossible to make it good. It's impossible to get the cast you got, and like sometimes you get lucky. You can have all the money in the world. You can have the greatest scriptwriter. You can have the greatest casting, still be a piece of crap. So you just never know. It's why it's a beautiful thing. It's like what Orson Welles described, like I've fallen in love with an expensive. I'm a painter that's fallen in love with an expensive canvas.
Do you, as was reported, you got a Maserati for being in a film?
I have one now. No, but Adam Sandler actually bought me. He knew that I was environmentally conscientious, so he bought me the first Tesla. The first one's off the pretty nice. He gave everybody else Maseratis because they don't care about the environment. Oh.
But you
got a movie Grown-Ups. Yeah,
I think I'd prefer a Tesla.
Yeah, me too. I still have it.
Will there be a Grown-Ups number 3?
Negative. I don't think so. No, I wasn't in 2. I regret it a little bit, but I wasn't. But my wife's having a baby, and truthfully, to be honest, the thing about show business stuff, I'm about to do a bunch of wave of movies that I haven't done movies in years, and the next few years I'm going to make a bunch. I think of several of them but it was. I mean, truthfully, I always asked myself or thought to myself I don't get it. Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life, Music of My Mind. He did 5 incredible albums, double albums, Songs in the Key of Life and Music of My Mind. These incredible stuff. And then that was it. It's like, what? The Beatles together, 10 years total of making albums, 7 years. That's it. Paul McCartney, of course, the most prolific rock guy ever, the greatest voice, the greatest, rock and roll performer ever. But and I think what happens? And I kind of understand. Your life becomes your art. I literally I couldn't do 2 because Grown-Ups 2 because my wife's having a baby. And it's I miss too much. I missed too much as my first child, and I'm paying the price for that, and trying to be close to her now. And, God bless her. She's a terrific entertainer and a wonderful, never wanted her to be in entertainment because of the ups and downs of it. But I think music is a more beautiful, rewarding thing for her. That for me, I'm not regretting being alive in show business, but my oldest daughter, Elle King, and she's doing great. But I have to admit, I miss too much, and I really regret that, and I apologize to her for missing so much. And, I don't want to miss any more. And, so I have these 2 little kids, and it's you know what? If I don't make as many movies, I got a couple that I'm really proud of, and I'll try to make a couple of more. But it's just last night being there for my kid falls asleep to me is that is more beautiful. I'm more proud of that and the family relationship than you can a movie. So I really do get, and I don't want to sacrifice that. Mm-hmm. To me, that's too much a price to pay to miss that for to be in my trailer. Between shots, eating out of styrofoam. People think it's so glamorous. You know how glamorous?
Yes.
And then you're out there.
I had a 15-hour day. It's 2 days in a day.
But it is lovely to see young people lose their infatuation and love for show business. I was doing a movie with Jean-Claude Damme. I'm sorry, I skipped out something. Jean-Claude Damme. If you're in a hurry, Jean-Claude Damme. If you're not in a hurry, Jean-Claude Van Damme. I think his real name is Woesterhoest, but Van Damme is his cousin. I got to meet the real cousin who he chose the name on. So I'm doing this movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme out in Hong Kong. I'm literally out there. We're driving. Moshe Diamant was the producer, and we're on a boat, small little boat, to save a little bit of money for the production, and we're getting out in the middle of a monsoon. Starts the monsoon. We were shooting in June in Hong Kong with the monsoon season, and monsoon hits while we're in the middle of the water, and like the boat has no navigational system. The navigational system was the wife of the boat driver being in the front of the boat, steering, going this direction, and just like the which is actually that's real Cantonese, by the way, lehoma. Means how are you? But so we're watching this, and then Moshe's like, "We got to get the bigger boat," and I went, "Yeah, of course we do, you cheap bastard." But I had a good time on that film. But I'm out there, and we're driving to this like dry dock, and we're shooting this thing, and it's just insanity. We had like it rained, and then like the lighting, the whatever you call it. What the heck is that we're plugging into this? This generator out there, and it just like, exploded on us. It just like not on us, but it like because it's water and the cords, and everybody's jumping around and going, "Am I gonna get electrocuted shooting this movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme movie? I die on this thing?" And I just remember this one lovely girl. She was half Chinese, half American, from Boston College, and she's just the smartest whippersnapper of a kid. And she was in her 20s, and she just looked at me, and she was like one of the PAs in the movie. She looked at me and said, "I just love movies. I just love making movies. I mean, if I see a movie and I'm not working on it, I feel depressed. It's like I want to work on. I just love movies. I can't see myself doing anything else but working on movies. That's how much I love movies, and just want to be part of the creative process." Excuse me for a second. Yeah, that was 15 fish and rices, 15 chicken and rices. Yeah, 15 to chicken and rices. Yes, 15, and then 15 fish. Yeah, and then like I just love making movies. Oh, you're ordering fish and rice in styrofoam bags. This is your. But like God bless them. You have to have people excited to be there, and that's my rule.
Yes.
You're working on a picture with me, and I hope you do soon.
Okay. Yeah. We've never been in a movie together.
I don't want anyone who's not excited to be there, but I don't want anyone who's too excited to be there. That's the rule. Illeana, you got to know that. That's on the board. That's on the board.
Okay, I will keep that in mind. Rob Schneider. Thrilled to have you on. Please come back.
Please come back.
Thank you. You got to get me out of my shell so I can tell some stories.
There's at least like 10 questions that Illeana did not ask. So
we'll do it again. Yeah. It's my pleasure.
We need to have you back.
And we loved you win Best Entrance.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I hope so.
Winner!
Thank you.
Best Entrance.
Look for Robin, Real Rob on Netflix. See him doing stand-up everywhere starting in the next couple of days. He's on Twitter at Rob Schneider.
Yes.
And on Instagram at I am Rob Schneider.
My wife's also on there.
Yes,
I am Patricia Maya.
You can find her right there. You can just click her right there.
Yes, thank you.
And his website is robschneider.com. Thank you, Rob.
This was a lot of fun. Enjoyed this. Eventually, there's some wild stuff here, Illeana.
You can also buy Illeana's book, I Blame Dennis Hopper,
Yes, you
on
can.
Amazon and in bookstores.
Oh, I got stories about Dennis Hopper.
Also, well, then you're coming back. You're coming back at the end of the summer.
Okay, we'll come back.
Also, check out our website, Illeana'sPodcast.com, and like us on Facebook.
Yes, and as we always, please come back. I enjoyed laughing for the past couple hours. As we
Yes.
always end our podcast, everyone's life is like a movie with a beginning, a middle, and an end. This is the end of our podcast.
But not
today.
necessarily in that order.
Right.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Exactly.
I'm working on my third act. Who knows which way this movie's going to end? But anyway, thank you, Rob. It's been
Thank you. It was fun.
so much fun seeing you.
Honored to have here. Thank you.
Many congrats for a great career. Continued success.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day, everyone. Thank you.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.